Chapter 10. Pinocchio Meets Assassins. Suddenly, Pinocchio heard a rustle of leaves behind him. He turned to look and saw, in the gloomy darkness, two evil-looking figures completely covered in black sacks. They were running after him on tiptoe. "Oh, no! Here they really are!" Pinocchio said to himself. Not knowing where to hide his gold coins, he put them into his mouth, just under his tongue. Pinocchio tried to escape, but he had not gone a step when he was grabbed by an arm and heard two terrible voices saying to him, "Your money or your life." Pinocchio could not answer, so he gestured with his head and his hands as if to say, "I don't have any money." "Give us the money or you're done for," the taller robber said. "Done for," the smaller one repeated. "And after we're done with you, we'll get your father too," the taller thief said. "Your father too," the smaller one repeated. "No, not my poor papa," Pinocchio cried. As he cried out, the gold coins clinked in his mouth. "Ah, you rascal! You've hidden the money under your tongue. Spit it out at once," the thief demanded. Pinocchio wouldn't do it. Then the shorter assassin tried to pry Pinocchio's lips open, but Pinocchio, who was quick, bit off the assassin's hand and spat it out. To his surprise, Pinocchio saw that he spat out a cat's paw. Once he was free, Pinocchio ran as fast as he could. The assassins ran after him. The one who had lost a paw ran on only 3 legs. After running a few miles, Pinocchio was exhausted. He climbed a very high pine tree and sat on the topmost branch. The assassins tried to climb up after him, but they couldn't, so they collected dry wood and piled it under the pine tree and set it on fire. Pinocchio jumped from the top of the tree and started to run across the fields again. The 2 assassins followed. At daybreak, the assassins were still chasing Pinocchio when he reached a ditch full of dirty water. Pinocchio jumped across it to the other side. The assassins also jumped, but they fell into the middle of the ditch. To Pinocchio's surprise, they were still running after him, even though they were dripping with dirty water. After seeing the thieves chasing him again, Pinocchio was almost at the point of giving up. He looked in every direction and saw a small white house hidden in the woods. He arrived out of breath at the door of the house and knocked. No one answered. He knocked again harder because he heard the assassins approaching. There was still no answer. In desperation, Pinocchio began to kick the door. At that, a lovely little girl came to the window. She had blue hair and a face as white as wax. Her hands were crossed over her chest. Without moving her lips at all, she said in a soft little voice, "There is no one here. They are all dead." "Open the door yourself, then," the puppet cried. "I am dead too," the little girl said. "Then what are you doing talking to me at the window?" Pinocchio asked. "I am waiting for the hearse to take me away," was the reply. Having said this, the girl disappeared, and silently the window closed. "Oh, beautiful little girl with blue hair," Pinocchio cried. "Pity me and open the door. I am being chased by—" But Pinocchio couldn't finish his words. Someone suddenly grabbed him by the collar. The same 2 horrible voices from before said, "You won't escape from us again." The puppet, seeing no way to escape, was trembling so much that his wooden joints creaked and the gold coins clinked under his tongue. "Now then," the assassins demanded, "will you open your mouth? If not, we'll just force you to open it." Luckily for Pinocchio, since he was made out of very hard wood, nothing they tried worked. "I know what we must do," one voice said. "We must tie him to that tree." "To that tree," the other voice repeated. Without losing any time, they tied Pinocchio's arms behind him, put a rope around him, and tied him to an oak tree. "We'll come back tomorrow," they said as they walked off. Pinocchio never gave up hope that some passerby would help him, but no one came, and Pinocchio began to think of his poor father. "Oh, Papa, if only you were here," he said, sighing. The lovely little girl with blue hair, who was really a fairy, came back to the window, and in the distance saw Pinocchio tied to the tree. She felt compassion for him, and sent a large falcon to the tree to untie Pinocchio. Then the fairy clapped twice, and a magnificent poodle, walking upright like a man, appeared in her room. The poodle was dressed as a coachman. "Be quick, Medoro, like a good dog," the fairy said to the poodle. "Bring out the most beautiful carriage in my coach house, and take the road to the woods. When you come to the oak tree, you'll find a poor puppet lying in the grass. Bring him here to me." Not 15 minutes had passed when the carriage returned. The fairy took the poor puppet in her arms and carried him to a little room. Then the fairy called 3 doctors. They were a crow, an owl, and a cricket. "Gentlemen," the fairy said, "I want to know if this puppet is alive or dead." "I have seen this puppet before," the cricket said. "He is a scoundrel." Pinocchio opened his eyes, then shut them immediately again, squirming under the covers. "That puppet is a disobedient boy, a bad son who broke his poor father's heart," the cricket continued. Pinocchio began to cry. "When a dead person cries, it is a sign that he is going to recover," the crow announced to the others. "No," the owl said. "When a dead person cries, it is a sign that he is sorry to die."